Hey, what's happening, y'all? Before I start this video, I gotta say one thing, man. This fight right here between Wladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua have exceeded my expectations because I thought this was gonna be a more of a Wladimir Klitschko pace of a fight in a way, and eventually Anthony Joshua was gonna find a way to get in there and knock him out, which he did knock him out. I didn't expect him. I'm sorry, I'll take that back. I didn't expect Anthony Joshua to win by a knockout or stoppage, but all I gotta say is that this fight right here will go down is it'll go down as one of the great heavyweight fights of all time. I'm gonna just be honest. It'll go down as one of the greatest fights of all time in the heavyweight division. And this fight right here has put the heavyweight division back on the map where it should be. Okay? Now, all I can say is that Anthony Joshua was tested. Okay, he was tested and he was taken to the limit. All right. And the one thing I was wondering going into this fight is whether he's gonna start adjusting. I was wondering whether he's gonna how he's gonna react when he's put in a perilous situation. Now we all know that he in the Dillian White fight he was in a bit of trouble. He was in he was tested to some degree where he got hit with a counter punch and then he almost, was about to get knocked out in the fight. But Dillian White didn't keep the pressure on him like he was able to do in the second round against Joshua. But in this particular situation, Wladimir Klitschko is a very seasoned fighter. He's been in there with all the best fighters put in front of him. He's beaten them all. He's been the top dog in that division for almost a decade. Wladimir, was much more technical. Obviously, he was a much more technical fighter than all the fighters that Anthony Joshua has been in the ring with. And I could say in the first 4 rounds, Joshua had won the first 4 rounds by establishing a jab. He was able to get off a lot quicker than Klitschko. And then in most parts of the fight, whenever Wladimir would try to grab and hold like he usually, he's known to do, grab and hold, Joshua will get off some of his punches in the clinches. He'll get off to the body and, get off to some of those shots inside. And that got Wladimir Klitschko respect right there because he wasn't grabbing and holding like he usually do in his previous fights when he knows he's getting the things his way. He's dictating the pace. He knows that, his opponents can't do nothing to him when he grabs and holds. But one thing I did know is that when he does that, he leans on the opponent's back so that way he could try to sap their energy. For some reason, he couldn't get that way with Joshua. But to be all fairness, though, going into the fifth round, Anthony Joshua swarmed Wladimir Klitschko, knocked him down in the fight, cut his left eye too. And from there, Anthony Joshua was celebrated a bit too early because he thought he had Wladimir Klitschko in a tough situation. He thought he was going to get him out of there. The next, Wladimir Klitschko came back with some monstrous counters and some jabs and whatnot, and he hurt Joshua. And even if Joshua was even fatigued, because I think he punched himself out. And I thought that he made a terrible mistake by doing that against a seasoned veteran like Wladimir Klitschko. But going to the sixth round, Joshua still showed that he was fatigued. The next, Wladimir hit him with his infamous 1-2, and he dropped Anthony Joshua with a crunching right, straight right. Dropped him down the first time in his career, and I thought Anthony Joshua was gone from there. But what he really impressed me in that situation is that he knew how to survive. Not saying that he didn't know how to survive the first time around against Dillian White, but again, Dillian White didn't apply the pressure like Wladimir Klitschko did in this fight. And what Joshua did surprise me is that he didn't stand too tall like he usually did in his previous fights because he's known he could get his way with his opponents. In this particular fight, he was moving his head, he was being more elusive, and the fact that he was able to step aside and pivot off some of the shots that Wladimir Klitschko was putting on, trying to apply on him. So he really showed me that he could survive and also quickly adapt because, like I said, this was like, he was learning on the job type of scenario of this fight for Anthony. For AJ, he learned that after he put down Wladimir Klitschko, that he had to learn to conserve his energy going into later rounds. So after he got out of the sixth round and survived it, he started to pick up the pace. Even though Wladimir Klitschko won round seventh, but not in the eighth round, I thought Anthony Joshua was able to pick up the pace, establish the jab, keep Wladimir Klitschko at bay, then throw in the 1-2s when you have to, and then gain his respect again. And that's what he was able to do. and he was able to finish out the fight before it got stopped, much stronger than Wladimir. Particularly in the 11th round, that he came in swinging with the 1-2 to get Wladimir Klitschko's respect. And then he hit Wladimir Klitschko on the inside with a monstrous right uppercut, something that Wladimir didn't see coming. And he rocked him and he put him down in that 11th round. And then when he put him down, Wladimir got up, very badly hurt, damaged. Anthony decided he started the fight in more of a spurt than he did, started trying to rush it in, trying to get him out of there. So he fought in a spurt, he took his time, went back to the jab, then got him and trapped him in the corner, cut off the ring against Wladimir, and then trapped him to where Wladimir couldn't really defend himself, and then the referee stopped the fight. So what I noticed also funny is that when Anthony Joshua, before the stoppage, when Wladimir Klitschko put him down, Anthony Joshua was taunting Wladimir. He was talking to him while he was hurt and he was fatigued. And I'm like, what? I thought that was pretty odd right there for Anthony to do that. I'm like, wow. Well, all I gotta say is, though, I'm glad AJ got the win. Not only that he retained his IBF title, he also captures the WBA title, which was vacant. So now Anthony Joshua is the unified heavyweight champion of the world. Damn good fight. Both men gave us great performances. Despite Wladimir Klitschko losing, I thought he gave one of his best performances in this fight as a heavyweight than in his other fights. I think this is one of the best. I'm not saying this is the best performance he ever gave. I say this is one of the best performances. I say this is one of the only fights I ever seen Wladimir Klitschko show to us that he really could fight in a dangerous situation. One of the very few fights that he could show us that he could fight in a perilous situation. I'm not talking about the St. Peter fight where he survived when he was holding and grabbing and jabbing and holding. Just, that would piss off a lot of people like Harold Letterman and whatnot when he fought St. Peter the first fight. But in this particular fight, he was actually showed that he had a lot of courage and he had the dog in him to actually go toe-to-toe with Anthony Joshua. So both men can keep their heads held up high. And yeah, man, I'm just happy that this fight exceeded my expectations, and it will go down as one of the great all-time heavyweight classic fights. So yeah, interesting enough, where does both men go from here? I know Anthony Joshua called out Tyson Fury right after the fight. I'm not sure how realistic that fight can get done, but I did know that Tyson Fury was shown training. He was sparring a little bit, even though he don't have the foot speed, but he sure as hell still do have the hand speed. So he still got the hand speed, but of course the foot speed is not there. So due to him being overweight. Now, some of you are going to ask this question about, well, forget about Tyson Fury. Go after the other champions, Deontay Wilder and Joseph Parker. Well, here's where things get a little complex here. Okay, now that Anthony Joshua is the unified champion. Anthony Joshua has two mandatories that he has to satisfy. He's got Kubrat Pulev over at the IBF, and he's got Luis Ortiz at the WBA. Now, as I stated in my previous video, Luis Ortiz is not taking any step-aside money. He wants immediate shot at the champion, which is Anthony Joshua. But the WBA has stepped in and said that they will grant an exemption to Anthony Joshua to pursue a voluntary defense if he wishes. So that gets a little complex right there. Now, on the other hand, the IBF has stated that they're going to force the mandatory fight between Kubrat Pulev and the winner of this fight, which is Anthony Joshua. So this is going to be a little complex. And furthermore, there's a rematch clause between Wladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua. So it's a possibility that Wladimir Klitschko could invoke his immediate rematch clause. Now, Eddie Hearn was on record to go on and say that they may have to vacate the IBF title due to the IBF's not wanting to, compromise in situations like this. So we could possibly see that again, which means that the belts are going to be scattered all over the place, and we're not going to see an undisputed champion. So, this is a very complex situation, but let me know what your thoughts about this. Let me know what your thoughts about Wladimir Klitschko's performance. Do you think he still has any fights left to him now? If you ask me, I think he's still got a few more fights left in him because he showed to us that he can still compete with these top heavyweights. It tests people like Anthony Joshua, who was young and hungry, but take him to another level. And where do you see Anthony Joshua going from here? Do you think he should go for a unification bout with Deontay Wilder because Deontay Wilder wants that fight? We all want to see that fight. And Joseph Parker, because Joseph Parker also wants that fight as well. So definitely, definitely some good fights that could be made in the heavyweight division. So let me know what your thoughts about this. Care to comment, share, subscribe. Signing off. Peace.